Hello and welcome. This is Beverly Fells Jones, the Silver Fox of Consciousness, and today's audio, video, podcast, whatever, is a re-edit of a podcast that I did in May of 2016. And I kind of went out and I remembered I had done this, and I went out and looked at some other podcasts I did, and I'm going, oh, these are all relevant for today. So, what is going on here that I'm editing one from 2016? Well, it was precipitated by the interview that Prince Harry, Duchess, look at that, Duke of Sussex, did with Fast Company about his work with BetterUp and his experiences. And it caused a huge, Twitter was awash, and so were the social media was awash, and the tabloids were awash with his answer. And as always, it was kind of twisted, of course, by those who just want to twist things. And the question that he was asked was COVID has accelerated a lot of trends in the workplace, like increased burnout and job resignations. How have you adapted your strategy to address these things? Now, this was in connection with the BetterUp company, the coaching company, and he gave the answer in such a way that I totally agreed with him because he told him that was a really good question, and it dealt with BetterUp and the work he's doing with his team there, and that they were doing before he arrived 8 years ago. Also, he says, my personal belief and work in the mental fitness space. Right? He says, while on the surface it looks like these couple of years brought all these issues to the foreground, but in reality, these struggles and issues have been brewing for quite some time. And when dealing with, and I'm paraphrasing, basically he was saying, if you can, he wasn't telling people to do this, but if you can, for your own mental health, people need to be aware, and it's okay to quit your job. He didn't say quit your job. He said it is okay to quit your job. And I did actually two podcasts on quitting. And so I'm going to share with you today the first of the two. And it is a podcast that I was on a different podcast platform, and at the time I had to call in on the phone. And so the audio isn't as good as they are today. So please forgive me on that. In this podcast, I have deleted the meditation that I did at the beginning and some other information. I just concentrated on the section talking about when is quitting ever okay, right? So join me and listen in and make some comments below about how you feel about the idea of quitting your job, a, a, a hobby or a project or whatever it is in your life. Or tell me how you feel about what Prince Harry had to say. So let me get started with that podcast.
When is quitting ever an option? Now, I always ask the question in meditation, what should I talk about? Well, a lot of times I talk about things that are bugging me in that week or things that I am working through. And this is one of those things that I'm working through is, quitting an option. I mean, we always get these quitters. Winners never quit, right? Winners never quit. They just keep going and going and going and going. I want to tell you, there are times when winners quit. But if you're running a race, you cannot quit. You've got to go to the finish line. Go, rah, rah, oh, man. No. A few years ago, I won't say how long ago, I decided that I was going to train for a 10K. I decided I wanted to run a 10K. Never ran a 10K in my life. And I joined the gym, and the gym had an eighth of a mile running track, and I would go and I'd run a mile and then go through all the machines and then run another mile and then go home. And then on the nights that I didn't, where we lived at the time in Pittsburgh up at Allison Park, we were on a cul-de-sac that was a circle, and that circle was a quarter of a mile. And I would run a mile, and then I got up to 2 miles, and then I got up to, I think I finally got up to about 4.5 miles on a run. 4.5. Now, 10K, what is a 10K? 6 miles? 10 miles. 10K is, I think it's 6 miles, 5 miles. I don't know what it is. Anyway, I don't even remember. Somebody will tell me. Anyhow, it was the 10K, right? A marathon is 26 miles. I don't know how many K it is. I wasn't thinking about doing a marathon. But I was doing that. And I would get tired, and I said, oh, you gotta practice with at least half of the distance you got to go, a little more than half. And I did. I managed. And I signed up for the 10K in Pittsburgh, big, the race. Pittsburgh, well, it was a marathon, and then the 10K was part of it. And, you could walk so many K, 5K walk. Yeah. Time. I don't remember, and at this moment I don't care. But my family did support me. They were like, yeah, Mom, you're going to do this. My kids, yeah, okay. And my husband tolerated me saying, I'm going to do this, right? So day of the race came, and I told them, I said, okay, it's going to take me an hour. I estimated an hour because I hadn't really run the whole thing, but I was training. And I figured I'd have to, I wouldn't run as fast as everybody else because, 10K is less than 30 minutes or something for the runners. And I started running. And about halfway through, I twisted my ankle. Not badly, but enough to slow me down. I know you're hearing it, right? At that point, I could have quit because I said, I hurt my ankle. I can't go any further, right? I twisted it, but I didn't sprain anything. I just twisted it enough that it did sprain something, but not enough for me to quit, but enough for me to not run full out like I was running. Now, my full out was not like the professional runners full out, and I was past 30, and so I was running at a pace that I felt comfortable with. And I did that. I stopped. I got some water at a water station, and I continued. But I continued to run, but not at the pace that I would have run had I not twisted that ankle. The key was I finished the race in 45 minutes, less than 45 minutes. Even with it probably would have finished around I don't know where I would have finished. I'm not even going to guess. So 45 minutes I was done, and I was standing around at the end of the race after, out of the way from all the other runners. But one of the things that surprised me, I looked back, and there was a ton of people behind me. I mean, it was like, really? You know, because I was imagining myself being in the back and stuff, but I didn't quit that time, right? But I've never run a 10K since then. See, my goal wasn't to start running 10K races. I thought I would run a few more, you know, and I moved to Texas, and it was a little hot, but I didn't run anymore. So maybe that should be one that I put on my list of things to do, is to get to train for a 10K race. That's a good idea. But I didn't quit then. I basically quit running after I made my goal. I still went to the gym, but I never ran another 10K. It was like it was a goal to reach. I did it. Okay, fine, you know. And my body was in good shape. My legs were in great shape. I was lifting really good. I found out I gained muscle very easily, but I didn't quit at that time. But there's times when I wanted to quit. In 2008, when the market crashed and the housing market crashed, before that time I was investing in the stock market on my own. I had money that was with an investment because I didn't trust myself with all of it, right? But I quit because I couldn't figure out how to, you know, to do that. I allowed myself to quit because I said I wasn't willing to lose money. I wasn't willing to do all the research that I wanted, that was necessary to do that. Or people are counting on you so much that you don't want to quit, but you desire to do that. The deal. Have you been ashamed to quit when you realized it wasn't something you really wanted to do? Your why wasn't big enough. I don't want to do this. In my job at Hewlett-Packard, I had gotten promoted to a position with an idea that it was going to be a certain kind of position with certain requirements. And I would get to do what I loved. Well, after I got to that position, and a while into it, within 6 months, they changed the job description, changed it to something that I didn't want. And so I told my boss, I want to go back to my previous position. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, I want to go to my previous position. So why not? I said, I signed up to do this. This isn't what they're giving me. They're giving me something that is totally outside of my expertise, totally outside of my interest level, totally outside of what I didn't sign up for. And he said, you can't. I said, I can't. He wouldn't let me. And I stayed. And I did it, but it was not good. Let me tell you, it was not my highest level. It was because it wasn't in my head. It wasn't in my heart. It wasn't something that I was good at, and I'm not, you know. And so what I wound up doing is changing jobs. I left that job, went to another division of Hewlett-Packard, and became something else where I knew I could love it and enjoy it. It's okay to quit. If you get to a point and you're doing something and you say, this isn't for me, you know, if you don't try, if you don't at least try, you never know, right? I've tried things. I've tried so many things. My friends, they all know I've been an interior decorator, loved it. I had a flea market stand. I'm a soap maker, and I had a soap making business. And that's a whole other story about why I stopped doing the soap making. I still make soap for my friends and family. But it was okay to quit the business because I lost my why and my desire. It wasn't that I was quitting because I felt I was a failure. I quit at the height of things. It was that I was no longer interested. You may be striving for something to become something that somebody else talked to you about being. And in reality, that's not you. That's not your personality. You have no desire to do that. You may be in a relationship where you have been there 20 years, and you've been trying and going to counseling and talking and reading books and taking seminars on how to make this thing better, but your partner isn't working with you. And you're suffering, you're going through long suffering through this. Why? I understand if it's economic reasons. I understand even if you're in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship and you're not financially committed and you're not married, why are you still there? Are you afraid to be alone? You're going to be there. You're alone anyway. You're not being supported anyway. So why are you there? What are you getting out of that relationship? What is it that allows you, that makes you stay and keep doing and keep fighting for something that's deep down inside your heart? You know you could care less, or you're not willing, or if you know deep down in your heart you're not willing to go to that next level. You're not willing to do what it takes to get you to wherever it is. And you need to look at yourself and analyze, well, why is it that I don't want to do this? I'm not even talking about fear of success. Fear of failure stops people from moving forward. That isn't even an option when you think about where you are emotionally and what you want. Is there for you ladies, is there a gentleman in your life that you want part of your life, but you're not talking to them in a way that lets them know that? Why? Or is there somebody in your life that you've met but you've never said anything to them? Is there a friend that you've never said I love you to? Why? Guys, I mean, I've told you all many times, I'm dating. And yes, but I'm telling you, okay, guys, here's one for you. And what other women would like. We want to be wooed. We want you to show us that you want us in your life. And we'll do it in return. But you've got to make that first step. I'm old-fashioned. I want to be courted. And a lot of guys don't know what that means anymore. And so many people quit before they even get started because in their mind, I don't want you to quit if in your mind you can't win. Actually, I don't even want you to get started if you don't think you can do it in your mind. So what is it that you really want? But here's my thing for you. If you find out in the middle of going after it that it's really not what you want, it's okay to quit. If deep inside you, you go, I really want that. Right? I do. I really want to write that book. Start writing every day or once a week or on a regular basis, and you'd have pen to paper and you'd start putting things down, whether they're in order or out of order. If you're doing fiction, you'll create a character and you'll start learning who that character is. You'll start doing stuff if you really want to. But if that desire really isn't a burning desire for you and you're doing it and it's hard work and it's tedious and it's taxful, quit. Start all over and go find something that you really want to do. I've belonged to many MLMs, several, still do. And one of the things they say is, what is your why? And the normal why is, I want a big house and a fancy car, and I want to do stuff for my kids or for my parents or for my this, or for, I want to do this for my alma mater. I don't know. You come up with stuff, right? And I was coming up with stuff. Until one day, this very wise leader, Darnell Self is his name, he said from stage, I want you to get selfish. And that's what I said, I want you to get selfish. And he mentioned all those things that you want to do for other people and stuff you want to do. But be honest, get selfish. What is it you want for yourself? And that day, tears rolled down my eyes. My friend that was sitting next to me, she says, what's going on, Beth? And I just said, I found my why. And it wasn't about all that stuff. It was just to be successful. And then I had to define what success was. So it's okay to quit. It is okay to quit. But if it's something that you desire, just like I desired to run that 10K and finish it within an hour, right? Because I didn't think I could run it faster. And when things get you and you fall down or you twist your ankle, right? But it was something I wanted to do and I wanted to get to that finish line, I did it. And I did it in less time than I thought. And that's what I'm going to encourage you to do. If it's really your desire, if you really want to do it, then do it. And don't let anything stop you. But if deep inside you're questioning why you're doing it, whether it's writing a book, your job, whether it's your family, your friends, what are you dealing with in your relationship, if inside it doesn't feel good, then I'd say evaluate it. Or go into meditation and ask your Creator to give you the answer. Because knowing that voice, where I should be, is this where I should be? Is this what I need to do? Should I change? Should I start something else? Ask those questions.
Well, hopefully you got a lot out of that podcast that I did in 2016. But I also hope that over this time period, you got a lot out of the interview that Prince Harry gave to Fast Company. If you're in a situation where you're not earning enough money, or you're in a situation where you're being treated badly, right now, I'm boycotting Kellogg's products because the people are striking to get better wages, better benefits. And yeah, Kellogg's offered then what I read was a 3 cent or a 3 cent raise. Maybe it was 3%. I don't remember. But I remember that it was an insult and they gave them one offer. They didn't negotiate. There was no negotiate. Here, take this or leave it. And they went out and decided to fire 1,400 workers. And they put it out there that they wanted to hire. And when people hire on in the middle of a strike, they're called scabs. Well, what happened was I love my millennials and Gen Xers and Gen Zs or whoever it is, but a ton of people applied for the job and just overwhelmed their servers. And these people were applying with no intention of ever taking the job. Basically, they told them is you need to negotiate in earnest and not just say take it or leave it. Because the companies are finding out now is that workers are tired. Kellogg's had over $1 billion in profit last year. Their CEO and their upper management are paid outrageous wages, but they're not willing to pay the people who are on the front line who are doing the work. And if they didn't have the people to do the work, they wouldn't have a product. And what they were thinking was possibly that, okay, we'll get a lot of people to take their jobs. There have been people in past years when people went on strike that others came in because they needed the work. But I'm finding everywhere around here is all these um, job opening signs. They're hiring, but people aren't taking those jobs unless they are getting paid a decent wage. They've got some decent work life balance. People are starting their own businesses. They are doing the gig economy, or they're finding other ways to be employed and self-employed, or they're finding employers. So, yes, if you are being mistreated, if you're being underpaid, if you're being forced to work long hours and overtime, and your health and your mental health is being depleted, if you are in a job and you know you at this moment you can't afford to quit, then put a plan in place. Go back to see if you can go back to school. See if your state is willing to do some training for you so that you could become a, a skilled worker in another type of business, right? But start planning. Stop buying a ton of stuff and start putting money away and saving, and get yourself to the point that you are able to make the decisions that are necessary for your life. If you're a subscriber, thank you so much for being here. If you haven't subscribed, please do that. Hit the bell. Give me a thumbs up. Do whatever and share this to many people, because there are people out there who need to hear what I've said, and not necessarily in the context that we're hearing today, this context of 2016. This is Beverly Fells Jones, the Silver Fox of Consciousness. As you have believed, let it be done to you, and it is so.